Welcome to Kev's Travel Stories. Each week I'll be bringing you a story from the weird and wonderful world of travel, a world that can change the way you see life and love and even the way we find meaning. Places that are iconic and sometimes surprising and even terrifying. So sit back and enjoy while we go on a magical mystery tour together. Today I'm going to tell you about an extraordinary and exciting thing, a surprising thing that happened to me on my very first visit to Bangkok. I'd already organised to visit Bangkok to meet a friend, but that fell through. It was the end of the lockdown. Things were really still very tough. I had just caught COVID and got over it, and I had to have a test before going to the airport, I remember, because the Thai authorities were very, very paranoid about Bangkok and the spread of the disease out into the countryside of Thailand. Such was the severity that when I arrived at Bangkok airport, which was empty, by the way, one of the busiest airports in the world, deserted, I had to get into a sealed taxi. This took me to a special sealed hotel where I had to stay in my room for 24 hours and then take the COVID test. I remember waking up in the night thinking I was losing my reason. Thank God the test was negative. And I can remember going downstairs and having a coffee, a beautiful coffee. The sunlight was coming through and thinking, well, at least I got through that. And now I have 2 weeks to fill. I was staying at the Anatara Riverside Hotel, which my son and his wife and their children had stayed in before, and it came highly recommended. But I had nothing to do. I was actually quite bored, and there was nothing around other than other Europeans, only a few of them. Half the rooms were empty. And then one night, about the third night in, I remember this concierge knocked at my door, and he had to give me an extension lead. And as he left, he looked me in the eye and said, "You want to go out?" I said, beg your pardon? I've still got that British streak in me, which doesn't really like people crossing a border. So anyway, he said again. So I said yes. I had nothing else to do. And so began this extraordinary relationship. His name was Diamond, believe it or not. And he was the concierge, the senior concierge, and he did a lot of tour guiding. So he took me under his wing. I remember the first journey was in a tuk-tuk to the Buddhist temples. By the way, never go in a tuk-tuk. You only have to do it once. You just breathe in horrible fumes and you have your bones rattled. We then went to floating markets where there are art galleries. He then one night late took me down to Kosan Street, this seedy, notorious street, which was completely empty. There were the go-go dancers and the whole shebang that goes with that side of Bangkok, but no one around. Still, I met Georgina, who was one of the hostesses, and we're still friends. He took me then to a German beer hall, believe it or not. This German beer hall serves German beer and has local pop and rock groups doing Eurovision sets. It was absolutely mad and it was absolutely fantastic. I'd say the next 10 days cost me in total about 200 euros for Diamond services. And he, I knew, was a fellow spirit, an adventurer, slightly mad, slightly wild. We bonded. So next time I came back almost to see Diamond. And he took me on an excursion. We went off to Cambodia and Vietnam. We got to Phnom Penh together, and we had this extraordinary experience in the killing fields, of which I've done a podcast about. And then I discovered that my actual passport did not have a valid visa for Vietnam. He came to the rescue and said, "Okay, we go to Angkor Wat." "Angkor where?" I said. "Angkor Wat." The first class ticket turned out to be the most horrendous 8-hour bus journey up into the North Cambodia jungle. But after that, I forgave him everything because Angkor Wat became possibly my single most wonderful experience. I'd have never have gone there if it hadn't been for Diamond. I wouldn't even have heard about it. It is a place of such beauty. It is a place of such wonder. This beautiful temple lost to the forests, only discovered by this Harrison Ford Indiana Jones, who discovered it lost in the depths of the foliage. And so that was the place where I had such a deep experience. This year we went back to Laos and to Luang Prabang, and Diamond had been really waxing lyrical about Luang Prabang for a very long time, and it really piqued my interest. Laos still suffers from the after effects of the American War or the Vietnam War. There's still a lot of ordnance that hasn't been exploded. Agent Orange is still affecting villagers who have lost limbs and eyes and all sorts of terrible things. But we got there and we had the most amazing of time. And I can actually put my hand on my heart and say the night we spent at the night market will live long in my memory. Diamond introduced me to bamboo soup, and the rest is history. He was going to go to Vietnam with us, but something came in the way. Anyway, he'd introduced me to a girl that I still see called Kara, and we had a great time there. And now I hope to go back and visit Nepal, Myanmar, and Bali. So what is the lesson that I'd like to share? Well, I'd like to share that when you go on a trip, particularly if it's a long-haul trip, either to Latin America, Asia, try to make friends. Start off with your hotel. The concierges are there. You will soon find if someone clicks with you. Make a local friend in a local bar. You will end up seeing things and experiencing a city like no other way. You cannot get this on an organized tour. You cannot get this by going around with your head buried in your phone looking at Lonely Planet reviews and maps. You have to engage with a local. I have had with Diamond some of the best laughs, some great rows, and in the end he's a brother. He calls me a brother, and I love him to bits, and I think he reciprocates. So when you travel, go out there, get out of your comfort zone, particularly if you're traveling alone. Link up with a local guide, a concierge, or just somebody you meet on your travels. And you may, like me, end up with a diamond.